welcome to PHED 1164. My name is Dave Literate, and I am a professor of kinesiology at Lone Star College, University Park, and this is the introductory presentation, also known as the first day presentation, that I give for PHED 1164, Intro to Physical Fitness and Wellness. So as you can see on the screen, my name is David E. Literate. I have a Master's of Science. I am a Certified Strength and Conditioning Specialist. I have my FMS Level 1, my Fundamental Capacity Screen certification, and I'm also USATF Level 1 and Level 2. My name is pronounced Weed-er-rect, and it is acceptable for you to call me Weed, Mr. Weed, Hayweed, W-I-E-D, period, even though it's phonetically sounds like weed, which has a drug connotation. That is not how you spell it. And if you notice, you see Hempfield Black Knights. I'll share more about that. So right here, this is a picture of the Hempfield Black Knight, even though the armor looks white or silver. And then here is another picture. So my office is in NRB, which is the North Receiving Building, 209P as in Peter. My office phone number is 281-290-2760. And my email, the best form of contact, is david.e.lederect@lonestar.edu. So again, that is the best method of contact. If you email me through D2L, that will come to that email address. And the activity emphasis for my class is resistance training. My office hours, you want to check the syllabus, and usually Friday is by appointment. So this may not be specific to your class. This is a generic presentation. So your syllabus is going to have specific information about where and when you meet and the office hours. I teach PHED 1112 and 2112, which is weight training, and also PHED 1301, which is Foundations of Kinesiology. And I am the Department Chair of Accounting, Economics, and Kinesiology. So if you have a complaint about the class, you can talk to me. If not, check out the syllabus. You talk to Dr. Stephen Kayla. I've also taught many other pre-professional courses and general studies kinesiology courses throughout my career at different institutions of higher education, and you'll find out where I started. And I've also supervised 30 health and physical education student teachers. So the objectives for this presentation, all students will, ASW, identify contact information, the course description, student learning outcomes, and other course-related expectations. You can also use this information on the Syllabus on Steroids quiz. You will see the attendance policy, which again, you want to check your syllabus for the exact policy and what your personal class attendance behavior is and how congruent your success or lack of success is going to be based on past practice. You want to recognize the grading determinants and the grading scale. You're going to measure your current physical literacy journey progression, where you are right now. And then understand the homework assignment that is due soon from this presentation. It's all in D2L. It's relatively simple. So a little bit about me. So I started teaching at Lone Star College, University Park in 2015. Prior to that, as a professional educator, I taught at Bethel College in Mishawaka, Indiana. I was the assistant professor and department chair for kinesiology. We had 4 different majors. This is the Bethel College Pilots. Now it's Bethel University. I was the head women's track and field coach and taught health, physical education, recreation, and sometimes coaching. At UW-Whitewater, they are the Warhawks. I started higher ed at Cecil Community College, which is in Cecil County, Maryland, Northeast Maryland, and they are the Cecil County Seahawks. And I started my teaching career at the Red Lion Area Junior High School in Red Lion, Pennsylvania, teaching 7th and 8th grade health and physical education. I am married to a woman who loves me despite who I am and my numerous flaws, and I also have 3 daughters. All of them are college age or older. And here is a picture of my 3 daughters. This is a couple Christmases ago. This is my oldest daughter. She currently lives in South Korea and teaches English to South Korean children. This is my wife in Petoskey, Michigan, and that white stuff behind her is snow. And this is us in 2014, many years ago, in Sedona, Arizona. I believe that is either Cathedral Rock or Bell Rock. We were hiking around. It was pretty cool. It's amazing if you've never been to Sedona, Arizona. I recommend it. So there's this thing called confirmation bias and cognitive dissonance. So confirmation bias, most of us like to be correct, and therefore we listen to and congregate with people who have the same opinion and ideas as we do. Sometimes that's called a feedback loop, which might not be the best way of getting good information. So in terms of the exercise world and health and wellness, there is confirmation bias. There's also a concept called cognitive dissonance. Some people will call that a black swan incident. So cognitive dissonance is when you have believed something. Many of you have heard about, the early explorers as they were traveling around and the belief that the world was flat, and then they discovered that it wasn't. So unless, of course, you're a flat earther. When you found out that the earth was round and not flat, that would cause cognitive dissonance. It would make you think and say, okay, is everything that I know incorrect? So hopefully in this class, you are going to think critically about the health and wellness information that you have heard, whether that's from teachers or your family or friends or the internet, and think, okay, is that actually true or not? Is this the best practice for me? Your sample size is 1, so you want to do the best that you can for you. What works for someone else might not work for you because of differences in genetics and level of activity and hormones and all other types of situations. So be aware of confirmation bias and also cognitive dissonance. Sorry, I had to change my screen. So what you're viewing, and I totally forgot to tell you what this is. Sorry about that. This is Nearpod, which is what I will use in the face-to-face version in class. And there's also presentations for every web page on D2L for each of the chapters or chapters combined. So you have access to this information in the face-to-face version. In the announcements, there will be a link which I think lasts 29 days. So if you were in class, you would get out your phones, you would log in, and there above where the screen is, there's a code that you can log in for specifically for this one. And this is where you could answer why you think I change my job so frequently. So also, while you have your phone out, please make a note to yourself and save it. So I want you to think about your overall feeling of health and wellness at this moment. Not if you're tired or you're feeling sick or you have a headache or your hamstring hurts or your back hurts or whatever that is. But overall, what is your current level of wellness based on the decisions that you make? Type your thoughts and save that to refer back to later in the academic session, and there's a reason for this. So as you want to look at this, health and wellness are on a continuum. The only way you don't have health or wellness is when you are dead. So you have no health when you are dead. So God forbid that you ever get into a coma, but if you're in a coma, you have some level of health because you're alive. But as soon as you pass to the other side, kick the bucket, become room temperature, whatever you want to call that, that is when you no longer have health or wellness. So are your behaviors leading to a premature death? Or are your behaviors leading to an optimal wellness? You're not going to share this with me. You're not going to share it with anyone else. This is for you, but this is a little gut check right now. So, too much information about me. So, I have my master's degree, I have my bachelor's degree from Messiah College. And if you graduate from Lone Star, in most programs you'll have an associate's degree. Yes, I know there are some bachelor's degrees. So, I had a bachelor's degree from Messiah College in health and physical education. I'm licensed to teach physical education in the state of Pennsylvania, and that is the Messiah College Falcons. I have a master's degree from Western Maryland College in exercise science and physical education, and that's the home of the Green Terror. Now it's called McDaniel, and actually Messiah is no longer Messiah College. It's now called Messiah University. I am currently a student at UNCG, as I'm talking right now, of online education doctorate of kinesiology. And I defended my proposal recently. It's not perfect, but I'm working on it. So I'm ABD all but dissertation, which takes about a year to complete. So I'm not even close to being finished. And that is the UNCG or Greensboro Spartans. I have a CSCS, which I talked about, and some other certifications. That should be 2020. I've taught 7th and 8th grade health and physical education. I've taught other teachers. I have taught a variety of college courses. And I'm a certified strength and conditioning specialist and have observed a total of 30 PE student teachers. I have coached junior high to Division I athletes, and I coached an athlete, not because of me, who competed internationally for the USA in the decathlon. So if I'm speaking Pennsylvanian with a Wisconsin and Indiana accent, ask me to translate. It's your job to do that, to find out what I mean. So here are the 6 steps to academic success. Attend class every day on time. Complete the required exercise with the prescribed training parameters each cycle. Be attentive during the presentation. Use Nearpod. Complete Learn Smart or Smart Book with 100% success. Actually, it's 80%. And complete Connect quizzes on time with prior studying. Interact with your classmates. And number 6, complete every assignment on time. Follow directions. Use effort. Check out the rubrics. So on D2L, you are going to answer this as the first discussion. Pre-COVID, we did this in a variety of ways, but since we're in COVID, we're not going to do that. What is your name? Socially acceptable. Like my name is David Literate, but I go by Dave for most people. My mom and my mother-in-law, my wife, some other people call me David. Most people call me Dave. What is your major? If you're unsure, say I'm uncertain. I went to college to run track and field. Eventually, I got into health and physical education. What is one aspect of physical fitness or wellness that interests you? And it's okay for you to type in, hey, I'm here for the credit so that I can graduate or move on to the next good thing. And then, do you plan to live to be a ripe old age, to live fast, die young, leave a beautiful corpse, or is it somewhere in between? I cannot guarantee results on that. But type that in the discussion and then share with some other people. So to add to that, what is your movement philosophy? More than likely you have never considered that, but in this class we're going to be talking about that, and you'll find out what my movement philosophy or philosophy of movement is. So homework. This is going to be through D2L, but what you need to do is go to the Dropbox on D2L under assignments, and it is called the Learning Style Survey. So you click on this, educationplanner.org. There should be a hyperlink there. You answer the 20 questions, and then take a screenshot of your results and also what you are supposed to use as study habits, and upload that, and you get full credit for doing that. And there are 3 options, so good luck. You will notice throughout my presentations and also in the fitness center, there are some T Nation, which stands for Testosterone Nation. You can check them out online if you want to. It used to be a print magazine, now it's online, but they have a number of memes, and I like them because they make me feel good and make me laugh, so that's why I add them to my presentations. Not necessarily for you, but for me. So a smart workout is an investment. A dumb workout is a bill that you're going to have to pay later on. That means leading to injury. So the catalog description for PHED 1164. This course will provide an overview of the lifestyles necessary for fitness and health. Students will participate in physical activities and assess their fitness status. Students will be introduced to proper nutrition, weight management, cardiovascular health, flexibility, and strength training. So that's what the catalog says is going to happen. You can evaluate at the end of the semester or the end of the academic session whether or not that happened. Good luck. So how serious do you think I am about PHED 1164? Kinesiology and movement. Again, this would be an area where you could provide your answer. This would be a short answer. It's not just a click on A, B, C, D, or E. So what this class is not, it is not bodybuilding 101. It is not powerlifting 101. It is not Olympic lifting 101 or CrossFit or toning 101 or look better naked 101. Wherever you are, you're not going to leave the class looking like these 2 individuals unless you're probably pretty daggone close right now to that, and you're also doing a lot of stuff outside. This lady's deadlifting a whole bunch of weight. That's not necessarily a sumo, but it's a very wide stance. This guy's doing some sort of Olympic lift, probably a snatch, and then he's going to stand up with that weight. This is CrossFit team stuff. We don't have anything looking like that. We're never going to do quote-unquote modified push-ups from the knees. So yeah, we're not going to do that. What you will do in this class, so you're going to do a loaded carry. most of you are like, what in the world is a loaded carry? Well, here's a picture. This gentleman here is doing what's called a rack walk with a suitcase or luggage walk. This lady right here, she is doing a farmer's walk. You can keep your shoes on though if you want to. And then this is just a single-sided suitcase with no rack walk. So I'll teach you how to do that. Every day you'll be doing one of those between now and the end of the academic session. We're going to be doing some sort of pull-up every day that we meet because it ends in Y and it's a training day. And there's a statement from Dan John. During the pull-up, go from straight arms to chin over the bar. Really, try it that way. It's called the right way. We're going to learn a hip hinge. This is going to be an assessment. One day you're going to have your camera and have a personal photographer, and we're going to be doing something similar to this. You're going to take a picture, and then you are going to upload that into D2L. We're going to do some sort of press or push. So this person right here, this is called a half-kneeling, single-side landmine press. So that would be one option. We're going to eventually do some sort of squat. So this is a goblet squat. That is a front squat. That's a back squat with a high carriage, back squat with a low carriage. But you can see how this person changes. Notice the difference between the squat, booty is down, hinge, booty is up. So these are not the same activity. So when you hinge, you don't do this, and when you squat, your butt doesn't go back like that. It goes down. And this is a picture of a Turkish getup with somewhat of a high hip bridge, which is cycle 3. That's half of it. The other half is you go back the same way you came. So lifting weights is the closest thing we have to the fountain of youth and staying young, according to Dr. Sam Spinelli. So the student learning outcomes. Describe how the components of physical fitness impact health and wellness. We'll talk about those. Explain the influence of personal behaviors and personal responsibilities on the development, treatment, and prevention of hyperkinetic diseases, infectious diseases, stress, and addiction. Analyze the relationship between physical activity and activity and nutritional weight and the body composition. Plan, implement, and evaluate a personal fitness program, and develop an appreciation and positive attitudes for a healthy lifestyle and effects of global trends on physical activity. So I don't know how I'm going to actually do that. Help you to develop an appreciation and positive attitude for a healthy lifestyle. If you're the typical student, that's not really in your sweet spot right now, having a healthy lifestyle. There are some, many possibly, that have a healthy lifestyle. Most do not. We'll talk about it. So physical literacy is a concept that we're going to talk about in this class extensively. So these are the 5 standards for a physically literate person. Number 1. The physically literate individual demonstrates competency in a variety of motor skills and movement patterns. We'll see how that works. Number 2, the physically literate individual applies knowledge of concepts, principles, and strategies and tactics related to movement and performance. Number 3, the physically literate individual demonstrates the knowledge and skills to achieve and maintain a health-enhancing level of physical activity and fitness. Number 4, the physically literate individual exhibits responsible personal and social behavior that respects self and others. And then number 5, the physically literate individual recognizes the value of physical activity for health, enjoyment, challenge, self-expression, and or social interaction. So here are 2 definitions of physical literacy. Bad news, kids, there is not one consensus definition for physical literacy globally. That means that everyone cannot agree on it. So Sport Australia in 2019 describes that physical literacy is about developing the skills, knowledge, and behaviors that give us the confidence and motivation to lead active lives from now until your end. Haller et al., which was a study done in Germany, they describe physical literacy as a multidimensional construct influenced by a person's motor capacity and dedication to a physically active lifestyle. So there's some similarities, but there's also some differences. We're going to recognize that there are 4 parts of physical literacy. Parts, components, attributes. So one of them is confidence. So you have the confidence to move. So you can ask yourself, where are you right now with your confidence? What's the knowledge and understanding of the benefits? Do you have the knowledge and understanding of the benefits of a physically active lifestyle? Where is your level of motivation? We'll talk about motivation. And then how about your motor competence and capacity? So physical literacy and physical activity. Research indicates that physical literacy is a precursor or antecedent of physical activity. Now, everyone has physical literacy. Each and every one of you listening to my voice has physical literacy. Is it advanced or is it regressed? Is it progressed or regressed? I don't know. So as we look at the physical activity continuum right here, sedentary behavior, we'll talk about that and the prevalence of that. There's 1.4 billion people, according to research, in the world have insufficient physical activity every day. 1.4 billion people. That's a lot of people. And most of those are in wealthier countries, first world developed countries. So if you're sedentary, we want to move that you have some physical activity. If you have some physical activity, we want to move to more physical activity. And then if you have more physical activity, we want to move to a programmed exercise plan. This is to maximize your wellness. But if you do none, do some. If you do some, do more. If you do more, then have a plan and a program. We will not watch this, but if you go to D2L, you'll be able to find a link to this video. This is J.P. Sears, also known as Ultra Spiritual, and you can watch some of those. Over the past couple of years, he's become more political, but he's very satirical, so it's very funny. In my opinion, humor is very subjective. So exercise is a celebration of what your body can do, not a punishment for what you ate. So the activity focus is resistance training. Remember, it's the fountain of youth, or the closest thing that we have. It is possible to use anaerobic activities, that means without oxygen, and elicit an aerobic or cardiovascular benefit. So we don't do any cardio in the class. We do not hop on the treadmill to warm up, or the bike, or the elliptical machine, the terrible triad of cardio. Don't do it. So remember, move well so you can move often. That's the goal of physical literacy. So there's 4 reasons why I say that this is a class, or there's generic health and wellness classes. Number 1, the leading cause of death is lifestyle related. So what you're doing right now is eventually going to kill you. Good news, right? Literate talks a lot about death. Yeah, I do, because it's part of life. There's an increasing cost of healthcare. Even with the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, or also known as Obamacare, prices keep on going up. When the government takes over something, prices do not go down. It goes up. Look at the cost to build a road. It's extensive. There's also HIV/AIDS awareness. Who knows? Maybe someday there'll be COVID awareness in there. And then there's a discussion in Chapter 14 about HIV/AIDS awareness. Not awareness, but that topic. And then also because it's a requirement. I realize that's why many of you are here, because it's a requirement. You're going to fulfill that. Right on. Go for it. So we don't want to add strength to dysfunction in our class. That would be a good way of looking at physical literacy. So again, move well, move often. Safety is the most important factor. This is an answer to a question on the Syllabus on Steroids quiz. There are some things about safety, and you are responsible for your own behaviors. If you know that you have some sort of medical condition, please let me know about that. If it is something that's going to inhibit your ability to do that, you need to go get a doctor's note. At no point do you need to be Wonder Woman or Superman in this class. There's only one activity that you need to quote-unquote max out on. We're never going to be maxing out on back squat or bench press or deadlift or anything like that. We're doing reps. We're repping out. We don't do single rep maxes in here. So what does gym etiquette look like? Because I'm going to be talking about that, and I'm going to be reminding you of that. When you were in kindergarten, you should have learned to put your toys away. So even before COVID, you wipe down the equipment that you use with the gym wipes. You return your weights to where they belong. You hang the collars where they belong on the hooks on the inside of the racks or on the wall once we get those back. And you also allow other people to work in with you. You don't hog 17 different pieces of equipment saying, I'm using all those. You can't use them. So that is poor gym etiquette, and a lot of gyms that you go to, the gym that I go to, I'm constantly re-racking weights. You don't put a 45-pound plate on top of a 5 and pin everything in. If you have to move something to get something in the gym, you're doing it wrong. So this is what our new kettlebell setup looks like. So notice there's 2, 2, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, and 4. So this is all the 50s, and the weight is out so you can see that. These are all the 45s, all the 40s, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. They're together. They're not turned sideways. They're all close and nice. And here's the big ones, so we'll look at those. So we have a set of 55s, a set of 60s, a set of 70s, and 80s. They don't make 65s, but we bought those many years ago when I first got here, and it doesn't have the buddy. This is the wrong way to do it. This is what it looks like at the end of some of my classes, and I will tell you about that. Notice these are back. They're not really together. They're all over the place. These are apart. These are apart. Who knows what's going on there? So make it look pretty. This is our dumbbell rack. We have 5, 7.5, 10, 12.5, 15, 17.5, 20, 22.5. We have new 25s. They don't look like that anymore. And we have 27.5, 30, 32.5, 35, 37.5, 40, 42.5, 45, 47.5, 50, and then 55 through 100 down here. So notice they go there correctly. They're in pairs and they're numbered. So I should be able to look down here and see that these are racked correctly just by, notice every other one's a different type of dumbbell. If we ever replace these with Perform Better, I guess it'll be a problem. So every day in class we're going to be working on the biomotor abilities. So that means speed, strength, flexibility, coordination, and endurance. There is a triangle or pyramid over here, and unfortunately the pictures are terrible, but this is for those of you who are visual and you like to see an image. Speed, number 1, the person should be looking down, and that should be a straight line, not head up. Endurance, people think of that. So being able to carry heavy kettlebells across the floor requires endurance. Walking up 7 flights of steps requires endurance. It's not just long distance running. So endurance is a lot of items. Being able to work all day, stand on your feet all day. Flexibility, coordination, and strength. And then there are 3 planes of movement. So frontal, which is side to side, right here. Sagittal is forward and backwards, and transverse is rotation. And we're also going to work on balance every day as well. So I don't know what your past physical education experiences are like, but those experiences reinforce your beliefs and values about how you felt about physical education. Those beliefs and values then drive your actions and behaviors. So if you are sedentary, that's a choice that you have made. Your beliefs and values and your experiences all impact that direct that. And then the results that you get based on that, the consequences, are based on your actions and behaviors. Think about your academic experience. I don't know what that's like. Perhaps you've had success or you haven't had success. How do you feel about the topic? That will drive your actions and behaviors. Some of you might show up 1, 2, 3, 4 times and never show up again. Or you may show up to class all the time and do none of the book work. I've had those people. You fail the class, but you show up every day. Good for you. That's good that you show up. And the results, though, are determined by that. We'll talk about how you earn a passing grade in here. I don't give grades. You earn it. So whenever something is being said, this is the dilemma of communication. There are 3 things being said. Number 1, what I think I said. Number 2, what you think I said. And number 3, what I actually said. So pay attention. If you don't understand, it's your job. Don't ask the person beside you who's just as confused as you. I'm not going to yell at you. I'm going to provide you with the answer, or at least resources. So what is the best method to lose body fat? Again, this is the part where you answer, and you have A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. And so that's where you could put multiple answers or 1. And notice here's a T-Nation meme up there. So electronic devices, your mobile phone should be turned to silent so that there are no interactions, phone ringing, notifications, etc. And if you're using it, that's for purposes such as Nearpod. You're not updating social media, taking pictures, etc. If I have the sense that you are using it for non-educational purposes, I can give you an unexcused absence for that because you're supposed to be here. Have your earphones, your AirPods, or wired Bluetooth listening device out of both ears. That is the policy in the class. So you can choose to follow that policy or not follow it. There's going to be a consequence to that. So we're using your Wi-Fi enabled device for Nearpod. If there's some sort of expected emergency, you're getting a phone call from so-and-so at some time, step out of the classroom to take that. So life is full of consequences. And so there's two types, natural consequences and logical consequences. Natural consequences happen due to the nature of the behavior. It's either a positive or a negative experience. All of our health and wellness choices have a natural consequence. Listen, if you're sedentary, there's a consequence of that. It's negative. If you're physically active, more physically active, there's a positive consequence for that. But we're all going to die. It doesn't mean that you're going to live forever. Who would want to do that? And then there's logical consequences. That someone, an organization, a group, whatever that is, has come up with consequences based on that. So in our society, it's not necessarily a consequence, but if you drive exceeding the speed limit, they fine you if you're caught for doing that. And if you're caught, then the insurance company says, listen, you're dangerous. We're going to raise your insurance rates because you should pay more than people who drive safely. And here's a question from the Dalai Lama. Not a question, a statement. That we sacrifice our health in order to make money, and then we have, at the end of our life, we have to sacrifice our money for our health. And some other things there. So what is the consequence of attending class? Well, you're more likely to get the information, do well, achieve academic success. It doesn't guarantee that. If you're inactive, you're more likely to have a hyperkinetic disease, have high blood pressure, have higher anxiety and stress. Yes, it impacts your psychological as well. If you hit a movable object, there's going to be pain and suffering with that. If you stay up late and have to get up early, you're going to be tired, possibly grumpy, not as effective. If you're active and use a variety of movements, you're going to sustain your ability to move for a longer time and have a greater, more enriched life. And if you avoid a commitment to wellness behaviors, well, you're going to be less healthier than other people. There are people, listen, eating healthy, being active, you're going to die anyhow. That is a true story. But what's the path that you're going to be taking? So for future considerations, when we start talking about Chapter 1, there's a discussion board about this also as well, talking about the dimensions of wellness. So there are 9 in our textbook. You don't have to memorize those right now. But spiritual wellness is one of those. That is your purpose. So have you considered why you are here? Not just because your father's sperm fertilized your mother's egg and then approximately 40 weeks later you were born. No. What is your purpose for being here? And this is not a religion or a philosophy class, but it is a foundational in considering why you do what you do. So here are 2 definitions of some terms that we're going to use. Physical fitness is the ability to meet the demands of the day and have energy for personal time and leisure, or leisure. So are you physical fit enough that after your future job is over that you're going to be able to spend time with your animals or your family or your spouse or your children or your hobbies or whatever that is? Most people go to work and get paid because they wouldn't do it for free, even though there are some people who would do that. So you want to have a life outside of your job. And then wellness is actively making choices and decisions that promote good health. So it's challenging, it's difficult, it's easier to be unhealthy than it is to be healthier. It takes more time, more effort, more discipline. But the results are huge. And whoever Dr. Allison Chen is says, health is living optimally given your circumstances, genetics, environment, and financial state. So depending on what your future career is, you might want to know about authority bases. There's more than 4. I'm just going to go over 4. So the first one is referent, and that is authority that is based on a positive relationship with the individual. You want the best for that. So example would be your parents, some of your teachers, hopefully clergy, physicians, friends, family, the people who want the best for you. So they're going to give you some examples. So if you have a friend and you're interested in dating someone or seeing someone or whatever the current term is, and they know that person like that person's a jerk, you'll probably ignore them, but they're trying to save you pain and suffering. Unless, of course, they're not a good friend and they're trying to go behind your back. But that's another story we don't need to delve into. Okay. Expert power. That means that you have a specialized area of knowledge. More than likely, I know a little bit more about health and wellness than you do. Now, there might be specific topics. Maybe you're really into keto, and I know the basics of keto. So you're an expert on that. But be aware of who you give your expertise to. Just because someone is famous or well-known doesn't mean that they are an expert. Is Al Gore a climatologist? So some examples. As an auto mechanic, a plumber, a physician, electrician, an IT tech. So if you're driving and your car beep beep and it starts to break down and it's running funny, do you take it to a plumber or a physician? No, why not? Because it's the wrong expertise. So again, I'm not saying that I know everything, but I do have a plan and it's based on science. And if you want to talk later on, not in the middle of class, we can talk about that. There is a purpose to almost everything that I do. It's intentional and specific. There's also legitimate power. So that is power that's given to individuals or an organization by society or some sort of group. So as the professor of the class, I have been given certain authority that I can set up my grading determinants. I can set up my assignments. I can't change the course student learning outcomes. I cannot change the course description. But I can manage it the way that I see best based on my philosophy of teaching and education. You might not like that, but that doesn't change the fact that I have legitimate power. So that's why there's an attendance policy. That's why there's a grading policy. I accept late work, but it's at a cut rate price. So when you're driving in your car and you see a police officer, what's the first thing you do? You slow down. Why? Because they can give you a speeding ticket. And then coercive power is using manipulation. So as a parent, there were times when my kids were little, I was trying to feed them, and I'm like, listen, if you don't eat your veggies, you don't get dessert, or whatever that is. If you don't clean your room, you don't get to watch your favorite movie tonight, or however that works. You might have a significant other that does that. A bully, a punitive boss, a terrorist, the U.S. federal government, the whole COVID vaccine thing. That is manipulation using coercion potentially. So applied knowledge is power. So learning can be defined as an observable change in behavior, especially in the physical activity realm. So I can see if you are learning how to do things correctly. So learning is more than knowing. I know a lot of things. I have not necessarily learned that. If my wife and I are having a disagreement and I'm feeling particularly combative, there are certain things that I can say that will win that battle, but I lose the war. She will no longer talk to me after I say that. I try not to do that very much, but there are times where, So people will tell you certain things and do the exact opposite. And I can give you some examples, but I don't want to about that. But don't tell me how to live my life when you're not living the same way. Okay, so we all know a lot, but some of us have not learned the information yet. Okay, so here is a picture about what you should pursue, and I cannot help you with this, but this would be your sweet spot. So what are you good at? What can you make money, and what can make you happy? Even though I hate that term happy, what can bring you satisfaction or contentment would be a better way of saying that. So how do you find that in here? Maybe you're really good at video games, and it makes you happy, but can you make money with that? The wrong reason to go into a career is, I'm going to make a lot of money, because you might not be good at it, and it might not make you happy. If you've ever had a job that you hate, it's not a good lifestyle. So again, where is your level of motivation to be healthier? This is where you can play along at home, and this is where you write this down. Remember, physical literacy, one of the 4 attributes is motivation. So people mistakenly think that athletes have great physical literacy. They might have great motor competence and confidence, but they might not know the importance of being physically active for the rest of their life. And they might hate what they do in terms of the training, but they do it because they're good at it and it brings them money or success or a scholarship or whatever that is. But as soon as their career is over or their playing days are over or the competitive days are over, they never do that again and are very unhealthy. So motivation, normally this is a timing class where I have students guess what E times V is. So if you think about motivation, what are the two factors that determine how motivated you are? And remember, to be highly motivated, you have to have a high level of E and a high level of V. So think about what could be the E word and what could be the V word. If you need to, pause the presentation to come up with 3 of those. Got it? Okay, good. This is more time for you to think about that and write down. Consistency is key when it comes to training. So if you show up every day of class, follow the program that I have developed, and do it with some vigor and rigor and excitement, you might make some gains. I cannot guarantee that because I don't know what you're doing outside of class. So motivation equals expectation of success times value. So things that you expect to be successful. And remember, if you go back to the definition of physical literacy in terms of confidence, if you have no confidence, you don't expect to be successful, you're not going to be motivated. They interact with each other, multidimensional. And then what is it that you value? Maybe you don't value health and wellness because you don't know the importance of it. You don't have the knowledge and understanding. So examples I give in class, when I was a track and field athlete in college, when I ran the 400 hurdles, which was my main event, I was highly motivated. I expected to be successful, and I developed a sense of identity from being successful in track and field with that, so I valued it. When it comes to asking a girl out on a date, my expectation of success was not very high, and depending on whether my friends had girlfriends or not is whether I valued that or not on that time. But my motivation was either, medium or nil, as in 0. But for track and field, 400 hurdles, motivation extremely high. So both of these have to be high to be extremely motivated. I understand most of you in this class, you might expect to be successful. So that's high, but you don't value the material. Most of you are young and you have relatively good health. And so you don't value this information. So your level of motivation at best is going to be mediocre or middle. And if you don't expect to be successful and you don't value the information, guess what? Your motivation is terrible. So for making the grade, this is what you need to do to accomplish academic success in the class. So you can see what the point distribution is, the grading determinants. 35% of your grade is fitness testing, fitness and movement testing, and health assessments, including the chronometer, Chapter 9 homework. 10% is the online chapter quizzes, 10% written paper, 25% active participation in training log. That's every day that we have class. It ends in Y. We're going to train, and then you record what you do on the training log. And then there's the final exam, which is 20%. Notice over here, failure to complete any one assignment could result in an automatic failure. So if you don't do the written paper, it's a 5-paragraph essay from chronometer, which comes up here in Chapter 9 up here, then you're going to fail the class. If you don't have a McGraw-Hill Connect and do the smart books and the quizzes, again, you're going to fail. That's 10 total assignments, 9 chapter quizzes, and the PAR-Q. And notice the grading scale down here. If you earn an 89.9%, that is a B. At the end of the semester, you had an 89.9. You're like, will you round up, please? I'll look at your grade and see that you didn't do this assignment. You turned that assignment in late. And I'll be like, yeah, you could have gotten an A, but you chose not to. There's a consequence to not completing all of the work and turning it in on time. I know that's difficult and hard for you to understand, but I'm telling you now, do all the assignments, do it in a timely manner, ask questions if you don't understand. So this is how you are going to get the grade that you earn. This is what it looks like for those of you who are visual. So a big chunk is this fitness And movement testing and the health assessments, 25% is what we do every day by working out. And then there's the academic portion, which is all of this as well. So it's not just showing up, it's doing other things outside of class. So there is an attendance policy. Check your syllabus for the specific one. For this class, there are 0 unexcused absences because it's a shortened format. So you know when class starts, be there on time. 2 tardies, which is 5 minutes after, equals 1 unexcused. So I do keep track of that. So look at the syllabus for the length of the class, the shortened formats, the May terms and the 6-week classes. There's a very strict policy because you don't have very many classes. For the semester, you might get an unexcused absence, but you still have to make up that workout. An unexcused absence is when you don't show up, you just blow off class, you don't email me, you don't tell me in the future, hey, I have a doctor's appointment, I have to go to the lawyer, whatever that is, you just don't show up. And there's a 10% reduction of your final grade after you pass that threshold for the first unexcused absence, 20%, 30%, you get the idea. So remember, every training session must be made up. That's plan B on D2L right now during the COVID pandemic. In the future, we might get back where you can show up to another class. So there are 2 types of absences, excused and unexcused. An unexcused absence, which is the limit on that, sometimes 0, you just don't show up. Telling me 3 days later, that's an unexcused absence. It has to be prior to the absence. Now, if you're driving along and you have an accident or your tire blows out, get off the road, get safe, and then email me later on and explain that. But again, 2, 3, 4, 5 days later, if class is at 9 o'clock in the morning and you tell me at 5 p.m., yeah, that's not going to fly. So make sure that you do that and get there. So if you have a job, do you just blow off work? Probably not, because they'll fire you. I can't fire you, but you can earn a lower grade. We talked about this before. What is your movement language, your physical literacy? If you have a question, share with the person around you. So here are the references that I used. This is APA 7 format. So review. Can you define these different items and know what they are? Hit pause, because I'm going to proceed to the next one. And there are your answers. So we have a academic session in front of us to get to know each other, to help you move a little bit better. This is some of the items about the move well, and we have a progression that we go through. You have to earn this movement to get to rolling, to get to crawling, to get to kneeling, to get to vertical stance. And so here's how we go. And if you skipped one of these, then it's going to be problematic.